1800s, in a small wooden cabin on the American frontier, a boy was growing up in deep poverty. That boy was Abraham Lincoln. His family was poor, and life was very simple. His father worked hard every day as a farmer, cutting wood and working the land, trying to provide food and shelter for the family. Life on the frontier was not easy. There were no comfortable houses, no electricity, and very few schools. Families lived far apart from each other, and most children spent their days helping their parents work rather than studying. For many children living there, education was almost impossible. But young Abraham Lincoln was different. From a very young age, he developed a deep love for books and learning. He was curious about the world and wanted to understand everything around him. Books were rare and valuable in those days. His family could not afford to buy them. In fact, there were very few books anywhere nearby. But that did not stop Abraham. Whenever he heard that someone nearby owned a book, he would walk long distances through forests and muddy paths just to borrow it for a short time. To him, every book was like a treasure. One day, he managed to borrow a book from a nearby farmer. To Abraham, that book was more precious than gold. Every evening, after finishing his chores, he would sit quietly near the fireplace inside the small wooden cabin. The soft glow of the fire would light the room while he carefully read every page. Sometimes the light was dim, and sometimes he was tired from working all day, but he continued reading with patience and focus. He read slowly, thinking deeply about every word and every idea. Each page opened a new world of knowledge for the young boy. But one night, something unfortunate happened. The book was accidentally left near a window, and during the night, a rainstorm arrived. Rain began to fall heavily, and water slowly came through a small opening in the cabin wall. By morning, the pages of the book had become wet and damaged. When Abraham discovered what had happened, he felt terrible. The book did not belong to him. And even though his family was poor, he knew that honesty was more important than anything. So he picked up the damaged book and walked all the way to the farmer's house. When he arrived, he explained what had happened and accepted responsibility for the mistake. Because he could not pay for the book with money, Abraham offered something else. He offered his hard work. For several days, the young boy worked in the farmer's field. He cleared weeds from the soil, carried heavy pieces of wood, and helped with many small farming tasks around the property. The work was difficult for a 10-year-old boy, but Abraham never complained. He worked from morning until evening, determined to make things right. The farmer watched the boy carefully during those days. He saw something special in the young Abraham Lincoln. He saw honesty, responsibility, and a strong character that was far beyond his age. After the work was finished, the farmer made a kind decision. He returned the book to Abraham and allowed him to keep it. It was a reward for his honesty and determination. That night, Abraham sat again beside the warm fireplace in his small cabin. With tired hands but a hopeful heart, he opened the book and began reading once more. The small cabin was quiet. Outside, the vast frontier land stretched far into the distance under the dark night sky. But inside that simple cabin, a young boy was slowly building his future through learning. Years later, that same boy would grow up to become one of the most respected leaders in American history. The boy who once worked in the fields to repay a damaged book would one day become the President of the United States. His name was Abraham Lincoln. And his story reminds us that greatness often begins with honesty, hard work, and a love for learning. If you enjoyed this inspiring story, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful historical stories and life lessons that can inspire our lives.